Today we are going to talk about greatest common factor, or GCF. Before we get into that, there's a couple vocab words that we need to talk about. The first one is factor. A factor is the number that divides into a whole number with no remainders. Okay, so it's the numbers that multiply to get another number. Common factor are factors that are shared by two or more numbers. For example, we have 12 and 24. We've listed out all their factors. All the ones here that are circled are common factors. It means it's factors that go into both numbers. And then the final vocab word we have is greatest common factor. The greatest of the common factors of two or more numbers. So if all of these factors they have in common, the largest or the biggest number is your greatest common factor. So it would be 12 for this one. Okay. There are two ways that we find the greatest common factor, and they are going back to what we just learned about with the factor tree and step division method. So if we do the factor tree method, you start off by just factoring out for the number. So for 12 we have 2 and 6. 2 is prime, so we circle it. We're left with 6, so we break that down, and it's 2 and 3. Then we do the same thing with 24. We have 2 and 12. 2 is prime, we circle it. Then we have 2 and 6. 2 is prime, so we circle it. Then we have 2 and 3. So we circle those because they're prime. Now, what you have to do with both of these now is match up your prime numbers. So I have a 2 here, and I have a 2 here. That means they have a 2 in common. We have a 2 here, and a 2 here, and I have another 2 in common. And then I have a 3 and a 3, so that means that they have a 3 in common. This 2 is on its own. I have nothing else to match it up with, so we don't worry about it. Okay, we just leave it off. So then I take my 3 numbers that they have in common and I multiply them out. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then I bring down my 3. 4 times 3 is 12. So the greatest common factor for 12 and 24 is 12. Here are the same two numbers, only this time we're doing the step division. It's going up, but it's the same thing. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Those are prime, so we circle them. 2 goes into 24 12 times. Excuse me. 2 goes into 12 6 times. 2 goes into 6 3 times. Those are all prime, so we circle them. Then I do the same thing as I did with the factor tree method, and I match them up. I have a 2 here and a 2 here, that's a 2 in common. I have a 2 here and a 2 here, that's another 2 in common. I have a 3 here and a 3 here, that's a 3 in common. This one doesn't have anything that matches with it, so we don't worry about it. Then I work it out, and my GCF is 12. Alright, so let's go through and try a couple of them together. So the first one we have here is 18 and 27. So we need to, first of all, we're going to do one with factor tree and one with step division. So if we start with factor tree, what two numbers multiply to 18? Okay, good. I'm going to use 2 and 9. 2 is prime, so we circle it. 9 is not, so we factor it out. What two numbers multiply to 9? Good. Are they prime? Yes, so we circle them. Okay, and I do the same thing to 27. What two numbers multiply to 27? Good. 3 and 9. Are either one of them prime? 3, good. 9 is not, so what two numbers multiply to 9? 3 and 3. And is it prime? Okay, now I need to go through and find the numbers that match, that are in both factor trees. I have a 2 here, but I have no 2's here. I have a 3 here, and I have a 3 here. So that's 1 3 that they have in common. I have another 3 here and here, so that's another 3 that they have in common. They have nothing else in common, so now I multiply out my numbers. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 is my GC. Okay, now let's do the same thing, only let's do our step division method. So we start with 18. What's the lowest prime number that goes into 18? 2, good. 2 goes into 18 how many times? 9. Is 9 a prime number? Excuse me. No, it is not. What's the lowest prime number that goes into 9? 3, good. 3 goes into 9 3 times. All of these are prime. Okay, then I come over here and I do the same thing here. What is the lowest prime number that goes into 27? Good, it's not even, so it has to be higher than 2. In this case, it's a 3. 3 goes into 27, how many times? 9, good. 9 is not prime. What goes into 9? How many times does it go in? Good. Now we're all prime, so I circle them. And now I can go through and find my numbers that they have in common. I have a 3 here and a 3 here. That's a 3 in common. I have a 3 here and a 3 here. That's another 3 in common. So 3 times 3 is 9, and that's our GCA. Okay, remember, we're just showing the numbers that they have in common. We're not showing that it's in both of them. So since I have a 3 on this side and a 3 on this side, that's 1 3 in common. We don't write it down twice. Okay? All right, let's try another one. This is 6 and 21. I want you guys to factor them out and try to find your GCF, and then we'll talk our way through it.